The Dead Rising franchise is certainly one of the strangest franchises out there. The series, inspired by the various classic horror B-movies from the 60s and 70s, has been pretty popular. The game may not be the best polished, but they're fun games and each of the games do feel quite daft. But Dead Rising 4 is definitely the daftest of the bunch with its festive setting. Is it too daft for its own good? Let's find out. Dead Rising 4 is the latest game in the series, but it had a strange exclusivity deal with the Xbox One. Very much like Square Enix Rise of the Tomb Raider, meaning the game was released on the Xbox consoles for 1 year and now has finally made its way to PlayStation. And very much like Rise of the Tomb Raider, it's receiving a sort of Ultimate Edition with a few extras. The awkwardly named Dead Rising 4 Frank's Big Package sees the game being ported to PS4 with all the gameplay updates plus a few more specific for PS4, plus all the game's DLC and a cool new mode called Capcom's Heroes. And in this review I'll talk about all the content and then I'll wrap up this review with a conclusion. First up, let's talk about the main game. Dead Rising 4 story sees the return of everybody's favourite journalist and part-time zombie slayer Frank West, as he's forced back into Willamette to stop yet another zombie outbreak on Black Friday. The story itself is decent B-movie stuff, but it's Frank's constantly funny attitude that makes the game a joy, and while some series veterans may scoff at Frank's new personality, it is one for the better as it suits the game's new sillier tone. As for the gameplay, this is your typical Dead Rising game. You go through the re-zombified town of Willamette, smashing up hundreds of zombies with anything you can pick up. Weaponry in this game is, as I said, anything you can pick up, but you can also mix up items to make cool new powerful weapons. Some cool examples of the weapons on offer are a laser sword, which looks similar to a lightsaber, Blast from the Past, which is a hammer that has an explosive punch, to even a dinosaur helmet. It's all stupidly daft stuff, but it's incredibly fun. As the game is set during the festive period, the game has plenty of fun with the setting, with having loads of festive weapons such as a candy cane crossbow, a ball gun, to even a reindeer motorbike to take down all those zombies. Whilst finding and creating all these weapons is fun to find and try out, the combat can be a bit simplistic and repetitive for some, as all you do is press the same button over and over again. There are some ranged weapons to use which help with the variety, and thankfully aiming is fine and quite responsive. And the fun doesn't stop there, as Frank can even wear an Exosuit, which basically turns him into the Hulk, and he can smash zombies to a pulp, and even pick up items like streetlights to use as weapons. The Exosuit can even be upgraded with other materials to allow for extra powers, depending on what you upgrade your Exosuit with. You can't play through the whole game in the Exosuit, as it does have a power bar on it. Once it runs out, the Exosuit breaks and you return to normal Frank. But don't fret, as the Exosuit packs are littered all over Willamette, so you'll soon find another one in no time. Missions play out in a pretty typical fashion. You go from one place to another, killing zombies along the way, as well as investigating crime scenes and moving the story forward. The game does occasionally introduce a few boss battles, but unfortunately they lack any sort of character whatsoever, especially compared to the bosses of the original games, and they all can be dispatched with very little effort. One of the things that's impressive with Dead Rising 4 is the huge amount of upgrades Frank has at his disposal. Everything you do in this game earns you XP and you level up on a regular basis, meaning you're always unlocking something new. Lengthwise, the game is split up into about 6 chapters and you can probably reach the game's conclusion in around 15 hours, but it may take you longer as there's no more timers, so you're free to explore as you wish. As well as the main story to complete, there's plenty of challenges to complete, side missions, collectibles and blueprints to nab, as well as cool Capcom costumes to find. So those who want to spend more time in Willamette, there's plenty to go back to after the main story is finished. The game also features multiplayer, but don't expect the campaign co-op that featured in Dead Rising 3, as for some reason the developers had decided to kick that out for standalone co-op missions. There are 4 missions available and they see players completing a list of objectives to make a boss appear, defeating the boss and then return to base to complete the mission. There's an element of competition as players are scored out of their performance, and for the most part it is a fun inclusion, but it's a huge misstep they cut out the campaign co-op. As well as the main game and its multiplayer, the game features plenty of extra content to keep you coming back long after the credits roll. First up, we have the weakest part of the extra content, the Dead Rising Minigolf expansion, which is a fun take on minigolf, but ultimately it does feel like a play once, never touch again sort of mode. Then we have the Frank Rising Story DLC, which aims to end the Frank West story arc. With some fun new gameplay mechanics and features, Frank Rising is certainly worth a go after you complete the game, though it can be a little bit on the short side. And finally, we have the best bit of extra content, the Capcom Heroes mode, which is entirely new to this version of the game, though Xbox players do get this mode for free in an update. Anyway, Capcom Heroes mode sees you going through the game again, but instead of using weapons, you can now wear costumes based on popular Capcom properties like Ryu, Dante, Mega Man, and Beautiful Joe, each with their own special powers exclusive to that costume. And with 17 different costumes to choose from, this means there's plenty of fun to be had, and while it would have been nice if this was in the main game, it is certainly worth going through the game again. It should be noted that all this extra content that I've talked about is a separate download to the main game, so you have to download the 18GB file first before you can play the extra content, which can be a bit of a pain. Presentation wise, the game is a mixed bag. Graphically, the game looks fine with some nice looking vistas, but nothing really that stands out. But one thing that did impress me was the huge amount of zombies on screen at once. If we're talking numbers, I'd guess we're talking in the late hundreds, if not thousands in big open areas, which is really impressive, all while keeping a nice solid 30fps frame rate. Though it isn't all plain sailing, as the game is prone to pretty strange glitches. From Frank not picking up items to zombies disappearing, it's nothing game breaking, but it can detract from the experience. Conclusion time now. An awkward title aside, Dead Rising 4 Frank's Big Package is a very fun zombie slaying game. It certainly doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's all the better for it. The game can be a bit rough around the edges with a few glitches here and there, and the game can be rather repetitive for some, but all in all there's plenty of dumb fun to be had here, though it does make me wonder where the series can go on from here. Nevertheless, Dead Rising 4 Frank's Big Package gets a 7.5 out of 10 with the title of good. Thank you for watching my review, like, rate and subscribe, and until next time, happy gaming. Bye!